What's up, everybody? You're watching the From WordPress to Statamic YouTube channel. My name is Michael. Today I want to go over something a little bit more fundamental about how content is organized and configured within our Statamic projects. Now, there's really two ways to organize our content in our fields, and that's with blueprints and field sets. And as you can see on the documentation page here for blueprints, blueprints are basically how we define what actually belongs to a particular collection of content. So let's say, for example, I have a collection of pages. I can have a blueprint for that collection, and within that blueprint, I can define all the different fields and the kind of content that I want to see on all of my page entries. Field sets, on the other hand, also contain fields, but they're not related to a collection specifically like a blueprint is. And we can actually be a bit more granular with our field sets and make them reusable and all that kind of thing, so that we're not repeating ourselves, and we can actually reuse our field sets in multiple places throughout our project. So let's go take a look. So here in the dashboard, I'm going to look at my homepage, for example. And you can see I've got a bunch of different things going on here, but what I want to focus on right now is this SEO section. So I've got a meta title, description, and an image field here that will appear on every page within this collection. Now, if I wanted to add this to something like my people, so if I was to examine Sam here, I don't have any SEO fields for this collection. So if I was to go examine the blueprint, and I go to a person, and this is what I configure for this collection, right? I've got some default stuff here, these fields, some gallery, and on the sidebar here, maybe this is where I want to add a new section called SEO. And I can add some fields like text, let's grab a text field. I'll say meta title. And I'll save that, and I won't go through the exercise to do all of them just yet. But if I was to go back to my people, and let's look back at Sam. So I got my meta title field here. But what if I wanted to make sure that whatever fields here are the same as the ones that are on the pages? Well, this is where a field set would come in, and I can make something reusable. So let's go look at the blueprint for my pages and see what it's doing. I'm going to go to the sidebar over here, and I go down to my SEO section, and here you can see I'm referencing a field set. If I was to click there, this is just telling me what the slug is. Okay, now I can actually go to my field sets area, and I can scroll down to the one that matches that slug, the SEO fields. And here, just like in my blueprints, I can add individual fields, but they're always grouped together. So here we can see I have my meta title, my meta description, and my open graph image. Maybe I want to use this field set within my blueprint for the people. So I'm going to go over back to the people, and I'm going to edit the blueprint there. Okay, so I'm going to go to my sidebar. Okay, instead of this meta title field, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create the link existing instead of create, because I know I have a field set specifically for this purpose. So my field set down here, I'll scroll down to SEO fields, and I'll click link, and you can see now it's bringing in that entire field set, which should have all three of those fields. And I'll save that. And let's go back to people and over to Sam. And there we go. Now we can see I've got a meta title, description, and open graph image, just like I had on my pages collection. So now, if I'm using the same template, which I am because I'm showing this SEO fields at the top layout level, it's already going to work for me. Let me explain what I mean. So you can see this SEO partial here has got this meta title and the description and the open graph image. And this is just a really basic implementation of SEO fields. Now, if I was to go into my actual overall layout file, you can see I'm bringing in my partial layout SEO. So because this is universal, if I was to examine, let's put in a title here, Sam title field, and I'll just save that. And if I was to go and navigate to people, and let's go to Sam, and I'm just going to inspect and look for that in the head there. See, there's exactly what I was looking for, and it's already working on this template because, like I said, this is universal using this layout. And if I was to go to any other regular page, like my home page here, you can see it's using the content from my homepage meta fields. Now, the other thing about field sets is we can actually use field sets within other field sets. This makes building our projects extremely flexible and lets us not have to repeat ourselves quite a bit. Let's take a look at what I mean. Now I'm going to go over to my About page. It's in this drop down. And so let's examine this 50/50 component. So I've got this little eyebrow text and a heading here, a bunch of fields that are going to be reused. Now let's go examine how that field set looks. So this is inside of my page builder. And let's drill down into there. So I've got my, is it the content one? There we go, 50/50. So it's already inside this 50/50 split field set. Now, okay, so let's go find that field set. 50/50 split is up here. And it's got these sections for this replicator. Okay, so I've got a bunch of different fields here. Like I said, we've got that eyebrow text and the heading and the content. So what I can do now is maybe I can drill down even more if I wanted to have this same kind of content elsewhere. So let's build that right now. We'll call it a content group. I'm going to go back to my field sets. I'm going to create a new one called content group. Okay, so now I can create my fields here, and I can give it a text, and we'll call that the eyebrow text. And we're going to do text again, and this is the heading. And you know what? I'm just going to open up my 50/50 split to see what I called them, just so I can see. So I've got eyebrow text, heading, content, and that should be a barred field. So let me create that one called, it's a barred, and we'll call it content. And then we're going to do a couple other ones. So we've got the text field, it's going to be UCTA text. I'm going to do that. Field. This is going to be product. It's going to be UCTA link. And questions, so you want to see that. Now it's as well. Okay, so we've got my eyebrow text, my heading, my content, and my link fields. So I'll save that, and I'll go back to my 50/50 split inside of my sections, and I'm going to link to my new field here for a content group. If I link that and I delete all these other ones that we just were using, heading, eyebrow text, okay. And if I go back to my about page and I give it a refresh, nothing really changed because the names of the field are the same, even though we changed how we're referencing them in the control panel. If we were to look at the YAML files to see how everything's named and put together, nothing should really have changed. All we're doing is creating a new field set with all the same field names, and we're referencing that. So the actual structure of our data isn't really changing. Now I could go one further and we can make a partial for this. My components here, I'm going to make a new file, and we'll call it content group.antlers.html. And I'm going to copy this whole thing, and we're going to put it right in there. And I'm going to replace this with a partial dot components. Sorry, I need a colon there. Components dot content group. And give it a refresh. And there we go. It's naturally just passing along the fields within the context of this file. So I don't actually have to pass anything down unless I wanted to make that a little bit more configurable. Now, maybe I wanted this kind of thing elsewhere in my project. So I've got this section where I've got, this heading and the eyebrow text and a button. Maybe I want that in a component like this or this one. So I could go in and let's take a look at our other field sets. Let's maybe look at that intro. So on our home page, I think we've got an intro. Yeah, this one here. So maybe I've got our heading here, and I want that little eyebrow text. Maybe I can just replace this with my new field. Look in my page builder and go to my content, and I've got this intro section. It's its own field set already, so let's go take a look at that. Cancel that, and we'll go back to field sets and the intro section. So we've got layout, heading, features, and intro text. So maybe it's just the heading that I want to replace with my my new content group. So let's just link that right away. I'll look for the content group like that. I'll just move it up here. And let's save that. And I'm going to navigate to my homepage now. And we'll take a look at that intro section. Okay, so I already had a heading and it's got some content in it. And I've got this eyebrow. I was playing around with this before, so that's why that's there. But let's leave it in maybe and we'll test it out. And if I want some content, sample content. And we've got these link fields and everything else that was already in this component. So I'm just going to save it. Okay, and then now I'm going to take a look over here. So I've got this heading that I already had, but maybe I'll just comment it out for the moment. And I'm going to do that partial again. Partial, and it's the components dot content group. And let's give it a refresh. Okay, so it's a different size heading, but it's got that extra stuff that I want. And if this is going to be a theme that's going to be repeated, this is the real power of field sets, where I can include field sets in other field sets and in different blueprints. This is the real superpower of Statamic here, and you can see it's a lot easier to configure than using something like ACF. ACF in WordPress is obviously super powerful, but what I like about the Statamic version of this kind of field management is we can do this all in control panel pretty easily, but we can also do this in code really easily. If I was to go over here and look down here into the resources, my blueprints, we can look at the collections, for example, of people. We've got this YAML file, and this is kind of how everything is structured. And we can do the same with field sets. So I've got, let's look at that intro. Where's intro? Intro section. You can see we are importing this content group, right? I could just copy and paste this into a different field set altogether, and I wouldn't have to go through the motions of doing it in the control panel. And in this day and age, with AI being able to be, a superpower for us developers, I could give it a command, and because it's just text, or I'm not reaching into a database to do anything, I could just explain with my AI tool what I want it to do. And because it has the context of the how everything's already put together in text, it can do it blazingly fast, and you don't have to worry about being destructive because everything is in the Git repo. So if it doesn't work, I can just undo it. No problem. So this is the real superpower with field sets and blueprints in Statamic. That's all for today. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you haven't already, sign up for my newsletter. The link is in the description. Catch you next time. Hey, Michael here again. If you've been wondering how you can get your hands on this starter kit that I've been working on throughout this series, check out the Statamic Starter Kit's site, and you can find the Cascadia theme for purchase right here. The link is in the description. Thanks.